Okay, guys. So as I was saying I was going to, I have made myself a foam top that is taped at the front, but not at the back so that I can just lift it up when needed. I have used carbon rods on these little runners. Now I'll epoxy these in place once I figure out the perfect angle and all. But these are a much denser material, and I can feel that it has more resistance. These are also 10 inches, and the old one were 8. A little less, actually. They were about 7.5, I think. So not only now does it take up a lot less room, you can see now I have room to move it around in here, which is great. It's about 2 inches shorter on either side. But instead of lateral distance from the ship being what basically produces the stability, it's the length and the thickness and the material that those are made out of. And I mean, I can really press this down now, and those will be fully submerged before the edge of that boat is in contact, which is how I have it set up now. And the reason is it really makes it, also this edge has a little overhang, and when it's sealed, it won't be able to take on water at all. So the whole thing can sit right down and lean like this. But naturally, the boat won't lean that much. If you put your finger on the COE, it'll lean about that much. That's my guess at most in heavy winds. And that's going to be more than enough. This is going to be a great design. It runs very well in the water. It tracks very straight, even though these guys have a little more resistance than the other ones. I haven't shaped them yet. When I'm done, they'll be shaped like an arrow. They'll be shaped like pontoons with a really sharp edge. So they'll front and back. So they'll actually be a lot better than they are now for that. Or I may just round them. If I make them too narrow in the front, they won't have the resistance that I want. And right now, they're just about perfect for the level of resistance that they have. So this is the next level of the sailboat buildup. This is the hull as it's coming along. I like I said, I keep having to do more of these videos because, well, right now, it's in its, I think, 4th iteration or 5th as far as my basic hull design, but it's because it really had problems resisting the tip, and now that's really nice. The characteristics I'm feeling from it now are excellent. Also, if you notice, it sits very, very well in the water. It sits so high in the water, it's not even funny. These help with that and help to lift it up. If you look at the angle that they're on, it is resting on those pontoons as much as it is the hull. Which really takes away some of the resistance, which is nice. It actually is sails a little nicer now than it did before I put those on. As far as its ease of traveling forward, it's much better now. Sorry for the dirty bathtub, guys. I had a little accident with some silicone in my bag here, and the rest of it is still draining into the tub, but until I get that cleaned up, it's kind of a mess. However, I couldn't wait. I just was working on it and realized I found this piece of foam today, and it had enough to do my top and enough to do these guys. So I also found this carbon rod I had sitting in the house, which I didn't even realize I had. I knew I had several, but I didn't realize I had one that thick. And when I measured it, it turned out to be exactly perfectly the length I needed. I cut it perfectly in half and then in half again twice to get my 4 sections. And it works awesome. Also, I had just enough. I had exactly 20 inches of this foam rail off each side. So I have enough to make a couple sets so I can try them out. Once I epoxy this all in place, this is actually going to be wicked. The mast will come through here, and I'm going to brace the deck and basically make it a plied piece where it's going to be plywood on top or something similar, probably maybe even plastic, and underneath the same. Right now, I've left a little gap here, so you can see there is a little gap in the side, and that is because of the fact that it's not perfectly form fit yet. But once I make the bottom and the top section, it will be. I've left little tiny gaps here and there so that I can fill it in later, basically, and make it perfect. But that's natural. I mean, it was a flat piece of foam, and I've got it taped down so it holds a curve. But that's only temporary. Eventually, this will be in the middle of a sandwich. It may actually just be that I add another top section to it. But one of the reasons I want to do that is because then I can model on it. and I can make it look like a pirate ship, which is actually my goal. So I will make little bits out of foam, maybe even little men and stuff to put on it. I don't know. What I do know is this is the next stage, and I'm now deeply excited, guys, because this is beautiful. Like it handles so nicely and tracks so straight. I'm deeply excited to get this, but yet turns really well, and I'm really excited to see this in the tub. Just kidding. I'm deeply excited to see this on the water, and spring is quickly approaching. And with the COVID-19 thing, I'm pretty much stuck at home most of the time. I had the sniffles. I get sick every spring, so I don't have any of the symptoms of it. I just have my regular, really runny nose, really wet cough where I'm pretty much drowning in fluid. But other than that, I'm awesome. I feel great, so I'm not really sick. I'm just mildly sick, like usual. When it comes to spring and fall, I get sick once at each time, so this is my spring one, but it is the sure sign that my body is preparing for spring and all the new diseases. So, yeah, anyway, this is my build, and I'm deeply excited because everything here is looking really, really sweet. It looks like it's going to be probably the most awesome sailboat I've ever sailed, as far as an RC goes, which isn't saying much. I've only sailed a couple, but I know my boats. I grew up on sailboats, and I love them, and I wish I'd have been on one that was built like this. This would be such a cool sailboat to be on. And when you see the sails are actually somewhat impressive. I've got a good design for those. I've got a setup involved where there's really no rigging, and the whole frame, the sail has a carbon fiber frame along its edges to maintain the edge stiffness, but allows you to control the carbon fiber rods on a servo and fold the sail or loosen it or tighten it as you desire, which makes it really kind of awesome. Anyway, we are approaching my 7-minute mark. I try to make them not much longer than that, or else they get to be a pain to upload. So this is my custom RC sailboat in its next stage, and this is definitely how I'm going to have it when I sail it. I mean, it's perfect now. It's getting to the point where I have to lean on it really hard. Literally, I can take it and lean on it, guys. That's me putting all my pressure on it and leaning on it as though it was supporting my weight, which is awesome because this bloody thing will support 100 pounds worth of weight and not go under. I mean, I could put 20 pounds solid weight on this. I mean, I bet you it wouldn't go under, but it won't have to take that. What it'll have to take is a mast pushing sideways, which it really does have great resistance to that, and that's what it was designed for. So also the front is very, very buoyant and comes up really, really well. And I'm thinking going over waves and stuff like that, the action that this produces is really sweet, and I can see it just flying through the water without any trouble at all. Anyway, 8 minutes now, so Keith out.